When we speak about love, we often think of it as a selfless, giving force, a connection that uplifts, nurtures, and empowers. But with a narcissist, love is something quite different. It is not the unconditional love that builds and sustains. It is a reflection of their own needs and insecurities. What they call love is actually a hunger to be admired, validated, and fed with constant attention. Their love is not about you, it is about how you make them feel. Imagine for a moment a person standing in front of a mirror. They do not see themselves clearly, so they rely on what the mirror shows them to feel worthy, important, or whole. You become that mirror for them. Your presence, your attention, your admiration, these are the things that fill the emptiness inside their soul. It is not your true self they love. It is the reflection of their own greatness they see through you. This is why, when a narcissist is with you, it may seem like they love you deeply. They shower you with compliments, charm you with their presence, and place you on a pedestal. But this pedestal is not a place of honor. It is a place where they lean to prop themselves up. Your value to them is not in who you are as a person, but in how you can elevate their sense of self. When you recognize this, it becomes clear why a narcissist's love feels conditional and fragile. It is a love based not on who you truly are, but on what you provide for them emotionally. The moment you stop reflecting the image they desire, the moment you no longer feed their need for admiration, their affection vanishes. You are no longer their source of supply. And without that supply, their illusion of power and self-worth crumbles. It is important to understand that this is not because they hate you or because you did something wrong. It is because their love was never really about you. It was about their need to feel important, significant, and admired. This is why narcissists can seem cold, indifferent, or even cruel when you no longer serve that purpose. Their world revolves around their own reflection, not around a genuine connection. This insight brings a powerful kind of freedom. When you understand that a narcissist's love was never truly yours to keep, you release yourself from the burden of trying to fix it, prove yourself, or earn their affection. Their approval does not validate your worth. Their rejection does not diminish your value. Your worth is inherent and unshakable, no matter how they try to make you feel. Many people who have loved a narcissist experience confusion, pain, and deep hurt because they invested so much of themselves into someone who never truly saw them. The pain comes from expecting genuine love and receiving only a reflection. But this is not a reflection of your failure. It is a reflection of their limitation. Narcissistic love is a shallow pool that cannot hold the depth of a true heart. When you begin to see this, you begin to understand the dynamics of the relationship differently. You no longer blame yourself for their inconsistency or their inability to love you fully. You no longer believe their words or actions define your identity or your worth. Instead, you begin to reclaim your power by recognizing that you were never meant to be their mirror. You were meant to be your own light. This knowledge is transformative. It shifts you from being a captive of their needs to being the master of your own life. It allows you to step away from the toxic cycle of giving and withdrawing approval and into a space of healing and self-respect. You understand that healthy love does not demand that you sacrifice yourself to prop someone else up. Healthy love sees you, values you, and grows with you. So when you walk away from a narcissist, remember this: you are not leaving a love lost. You are stepping out of an illusion. You are no longer available to be a tool for someone else's self-esteem. You are reclaiming your identity, your dignity, and your soul. This is the foundation of true healing after narcissistic abuse. It begins with knowing that you are worthy of love that is given freely, that is not dependent on your ability to make someone else feel good about themselves. You are worthy of love that sees you fully and embraces you wholly, not just your reflection. The moment you realize that narcissists don't truly love you, they love only how you make them feel, you stop searching for their approval. You stop chasing after a mirage. Instead, you turn your gaze inward and find the love that was always there waiting for you to claim it. This is not just survival. This is awakening. This is the first step toward freedom, joy, and peace. And from this place, your future relationships will be different, healthier, stronger, realer, because you will no longer accept anything less than the love you deserve. Remember, the reflection they wanted was never your true self. Your true self is far greater than any reflection. And now it's time to love you for who you truly are. When a narcissist loses you, it is not just the end of a relationship. It marks the beginning of a profound internal collapse for them. The truth is, a narcissist world is built on illusion. Their sense of self, their identity, and their control are all intricately woven around the presence and validation of others, especially the person they feed off emotionally. To them, you were not just a partner or a friend. You were their source of supply, the fuel that kept their ego alive and thriving. When you walk away, you don't simply take a person out of their life. You take away their power, their mirror, their validation. And this loss triggers a psychological breakdown that can be as intense and destructive as the shattering of a fragile glass sculpture. Narcissists do not experience heartbreak the way you and I might understand it. They don't grieve over shared memories or lost companionship. Instead, what they experience is an injury to their ego, the very foundation upon which their self-worth is falsely constructed. Their ego is not a healthy confidence grounded in reality. It is a fragile, brittle shell designed to hide deep insecurities and vulnerabilities. When you leave, that shell cracks, and the narcissist is left to face a raw and uncomfortable truth. Without you, their image of themselves crumbles. This collapse is why the end of the relationship often leads to a dangerous and chaotic mental state for them. They enter a place of confusion and desperation. You see, narcissists live in a fantasy where they are powerful, admired, and in control. They manipulate people and situations to maintain this fantasy, and they expect everything to revolve around their needs. When you break free, you disrupt this fantasy. You pull the rug from underneath them, forcing them to confront the reality they've been avoiding. This confrontation can be deeply disturbing for them because it exposes the emptiness behind the grand facade. It is important to recognize that this internal collapse is not a sign of weakness, but rather a symptom of how deeply the narcissist depends on external validation. They are like a house built on sand, sturdy only as long as they have constant approval. When the foundation is removed, the house shakes and threatens to fall. This is why their reaction to losing you is so intense, so filled with disbelief and confusion. They genuinely cannot understand how you had the strength to walk away, because in their mind they have constructed you as someone who is weak, pliable, and dependent on them. But you showed them otherwise. Your departure is an act of power that defies their control. It signals to them that their manipulation no longer works, that their tactics are failing. This realization creates cognitive dissonance in their mind, the uncomfortable clash between what they believe and what reality shows. They want to believe you will come back because that maintains their fantasy, but deep down they know you won't. And this gap between hope and reality drives their internal breakdown. What happens next is a psychological battle within themselves. They may try to rationalize your leaving by blaming you, others, or circumstances. They may tell themselves stories to protect their ego from the truth. This denial is part of their attempt to avoid the painful recognition that they lost control and that they are vulnerable without you. But as the denial fades, the reality sets in more starkly, and the narcissist is left to grapple with the consequences of their own actions. It's crucial to understand that this collapse isn't something you caused by walking away. You didn't break them. Their brokenness was already there, hidden beneath layers of arrogance and false bravado. You merely removed the mask, forcing them to face who they really are. And this is a powerful lesson. Sometimes the most profound change occurs not by building something new, but by removing what no longer serves us, even if it shakes the very ground beneath us. For you, this knowledge is liberating. You don't carry the weight of their collapse. Their internal battle is theirs to fight. Your job was to reclaim your life, your peace, and your self-worth. When you choose freedom over control, love over manipulation, and truth over illusion, you walk out of a prison of your own making, even if you didn't realize it at the time. Remember that the collapse they experience is a form of awakening. It may be painful, confusing, and destructive, but it reveals the reality of their condition. For them to heal, they must confront this brokenness. But whether they do or not is beyond your power or responsibility. What you can do is stand firm in your decision to leave. Celebrate your strength. Celebrate the fact that your leaving disrupted a lie and brought a new truth to light. This collapse, as unsettling as it may seem, is proof of your liberation. It's proof that you were never meant to remain trapped in a relationship where your worth was conditional on someone else's fragile ego. So when you think about the narcissist's breakdown after you leave, do not see it as a failure or a curse. See it as a natural and inevitable consequence of a system, a relationship built on falsehood. Their collapse is a testimony to the power of truth and freedom. You did not just end a chapter for them. You ended a cycle. You took back your power and your identity. And in doing so, you forced a reckoning. For them, it may be a painful reckoning. For you, it is a new beginning. Stand tall, knowing that your departure was not an act of cruelty, but an act of courage. When you walk away, you illuminate the path for others to see that true strength lies in choosing yourself over destruction. And in this you are victorious. When a narcissist loses someone important to them, it's easy for many to assume they experience heartbreak like anyone else. We tend to think they must feel pain, they must miss that person. But the truth is far more complex and deeper than feelings of love or loss. What actually shatters inside a narcissist is not their heart. It is their ego, their sense of self, their identity. Their illusion of control and power suffers the greatest blow. You see, narcissists live in a world built around themselves. They craft an image of perfection, invincibility, and dominance. This image is fragile and it demands constant reinforcement. They depend on external sources to fuel this sense of superiority, admiration, validation, attention, and control. The people around them are often not truly loved, but seen as extensions of themselves, reflections of their greatness, or tools to bolster their self-esteem. When someone important leaves, the narcissist doesn't lose a companion or a partner. They lose a vital source of their identity, because their ego is so deeply intertwined with how others perceive them. Losing that person feels like a catastrophic injury to their self-worth. It's not a wound of the heart, it's a wound of the soul's armor, a crack in the facade that keeps their inner insecurities hidden. The person who left was not just a partner. They were a mirror reflecting back a perfect grand image. When that mirror breaks, the narcissist is forced to confront a reflection they never wanted to see. Vulnerability, emptiness, and inadequacy. This is why the narcissist's suffering is so different from yours. You feel sadness because someone you cared about left your life. You grieve a loss of connection, love, or companionship. But the narcissist's suffering is an ego crisis, a moment when their self-constructed identity is shattered. The pain is not about genuine love lost, but about their facade crumbling, their kingdom losing its throne. And this suffering triggers defense mechanisms that often confuse others. You might witness denial, anger, rage, manipulation, or desperate attempts to reclaim control. But beneath all these actions is a man or woman terrified, not because they lost love, but because they lost their power and significance. The intensity of their reactions reveals how deeply their ego has been wounded. This is why a narcissist's emotional experience after losing someone is often so turbulent and unpredictable. Their ego demands restoration, and they will go to extreme lengths to rebuild their identity. Sometimes this looks like furious attempts to win the person back, begging for forgiveness not from remorse but from desperation to regain their status. Other times it manifests as smearing the person who left, trying to damage their reputation to reduce the narcissist's own feelings of inferiority. Their ego's suffering can even lead to self-destructive behavior or attempts to replace the lost person quickly, not because of healing, but because they fear being seen as weak or abandoned. The narcissist's world is a constant performance, and their ego cannot endure the humiliation of failure or rejection. However, understanding this is crucial for anyone dealing with a narcissist. Their pain is not your responsibility. The wounds they carry are theirs alone. Their broken ego is a reflection of their own insecurities, not a judgment of your worth or your decision to leave. When you recognize that their suffering is an ego crisis rather than heartbreak, you can begin to protect your own heart from unnecessary guilt or confusion. You are not the cause of their pain. You are simply the catalyst that revealed it. Their reaction is a reflection of their internal battle, not your failure or fault. When you understand this distinction, you gain freedom. Freedom to focus on your healing, your growth, and your peace without being pulled back into their drama. You also begin to see the truth about control. The narcissist's power lies in making you doubt yourself, making you feel responsible for their emotions, making you believe that without you they are lost. But this is a lie. Their ego's suffering is a signal of their dependency, their inability to stand alone without external validation. This is where your strength shines. By walking away, you are reclaiming your own power, breaking free from the chains of their need to control you. Remember, true love does not need to control or manipulate. True love allows freedom and growth. When you leave a narcissist, you are not only freeing yourself from their grasp, but also freeing them to face the reality they have long avoided, that their worth is not defined by others. Whether they accept this or not is their journey, not yours. So let the narcissists suffer their egos collapse, if they must. Let them grapple with the loss of control. It is painful, yes, but it is also necessary for their growth, just as your departure is necessary for yours. Their suffering does not make you cruel or heartless. It makes you brave and wise. Stand firm in your truth. Know that their greatest pain is the shattering of an illusion, not the loss of genuine love. And when you hold this understanding, you walk with dignity, strength, and clarity, ready to build a future where your worth is not tied to anyone's ego, but to your own self-respect. You have done what many cannot do. You chose yourself. And that, above all, is the greatest act of love you can give, not only to others, but to yourself. When you think about a narcissist losing someone they depended on, it's important to understand what lies beneath their surface reaction. What we see, whether it's anger, denial, or begging, is not just random behavior. It's a very calculated and deeply rooted response, driven by one basic human need, the need to regain control. You see, narcissists operate from a place where control is everything. Their identity, their self-worth, even their survival emotionally depends on their ability to manipulate and command the world around them. When you leave, you do more than walk away from a relationship. You dismantle their entire sense of order. Their carefully constructed world starts to unravel, and the loss triggers a psychological crisis that can be understood if you look closely. Each stage they go through after losing you is like a desperate clawing at the fragments of their broken kingdom. It's not love or genuine remorse you're witnessing. It's a fight for dominance, a battle to reassert power over something they believe belongs to them. This battle is deeply rooted in their fear, the fear of abandonment, the fear of insignificance, and the fear that they are powerless without the mirror of admiration you provided. At first, their shock is palpable. This is the moment when reality slaps them in the face. They are stunned because the idea that you could actually walk away goes against everything they believe about their control. They had convinced themselves that you were just a part of their empire, an object to be used, molded, and controlled. Your departure shakes the foundation of their self-image. Suddenly, the illusion of control fractures, and their mind scrambles to figure out how to fix what's broken. This leads into the next stage, denial, where their mind desperately rewrites the story. Denial is a coping mechanism. It's their way of telling themselves, this is not real. They will come back. This will be fixed. They cannot accept the loss because it means admitting weakness. And weakness to a narcissist is a sin. In denial, they live in a fantasy where they still have power and you are still theirs. This is not about seeing the truth. It's about maintaining a grip on control, no matter how delusional. When denial fails, rage takes its place. The anger they display is not a sign of genuine hurt, but an eruption of frustration. The loss exposed their vulnerability, and rage is the instinctual reaction to hide that vulnerability. The fury is aimed not just at you, but at the universe for allowing their control to slip away. It is an attempt to intimidate, to scare, to force you back into submission. This stage is volatile, dangerous even, because it's fueled by the burning need to reclaim power at any cost. If rage doesn't work, desperation follows. In desperation, the narcissist begins to bargain, to plead, to make promises. But these are not born from true repentance or a desire to change. They are tactical moves designed to manipulate you into returning. Desperation is a form of control disguised as vulnerability. They want to pull you back into their sphere, to regain their source of supply. This stage reveals the lengths they will go to avoid losing control. When even desperation fails, they resort to devaluation, an attempt to tear down your worth. If they cannot control you directly, they try to control the narrative around you. They diminish you in the eyes of others, calling you names, spreading lies, discrediting your character. This is their way of trying to take back power by damaging what you have built. It is an effort to convince the world and themselves that you were never valuable, that you were a mistake. Devaluation is a sad reflection of their inability to accept the loss of control and an attempt to hurt you from afar. Finally, when they can no longer deny the loss or hurt you further, they seek replacement. This is not because they have healed or grown. It's because they need a new source of control, a new mirror to reflect their false self. The replacement is a quick fix, a way to show the world and themselves that they are still powerful, still desirable. It's a last-ditch effort to maintain the illusion that their control is unbroken. But the replacement is always a poor substitute because it cannot fill the void you left behind. Understanding these stages as desperate attempts to regain control changes how you view the narcissist's behavior. It stops you from taking their actions personally and helps you recognize that their breakdown is about them, not you. When you grasp this, you realize that the power lies not with them, but with you. You have already broken free from their control. Their attempts to regain it are futile against your freedom. This knowledge equips you with strength and clarity. It frees you from the trap of reacting to their chaos. Instead of falling back into their cycle, you stand firm in your truth, knowing that their need for control is a reflection of their own emptiness, not a statement about your worth. Remember, control is the language of the narcissist world. When you walk away, you don't just leave a person. You dismantle a kingdom built on manipulation and fear. Each stage they experience is their attempt to rebuild that kingdom. But you are no longer a part of it. You are walking toward your destiny, toward a life where control is exercised by your purpose and peace, not by fear and manipulation. So hold your head high and keep moving forward. Their struggle to regain control is not your burden to bear. Your mission is to reclaim your power and live beyond their reach. When a narcissist loses you, one of the most painful and revealing stages they enter is what we call the stage of devaluation. This stage is not just a simple act of anger or bitterness. It is a deliberate and calculated attempt to reclaim a sense of control by destroying your reputation and minimizing your worth in the eyes of others, and even in your own eyes. It is a psychological tactic designed to erase the truth of your value, because to them your worth threatens their fragile ego. You must understand that narcissists do not have a healthy way of coping with loss. Their sense of self is so deeply intertwined with control and admiration that when you leave, it feels like an earthquake shaking the very foundation of their existence. But they cannot admit weakness. Instead, they lash out in the only way they know how, by tearing you down. The cruel irony is that this attempt to diminish you is actually a sign of their own weakness, a glaring exposure of their insecurity and fear. During this devaluation phase, you will hear things that seem designed to confuse and wound you deeply. They will accuse you of being crazy, manipulative, ungrateful, or too sensitive. They will tell others that you were never good enough, that you failed them, or that you made their life miserable. This is not about truth. It is about reclaiming power through lies and distortion. They want to poison the narrative so that anyone who sees you or hears your story doubts your character and questions your judgment. This is why it is crucial to recognize these tactics for what they are: weapons of defense, not reflections of reality. When a narcissist attempts to devalue you, they are essentially trying to rewrite history. They want to erase the person you were to them and replace it with a story that serves their need to feel superior and justified. The things they say are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of their desperation. It is important for you to hold fast to your truth in this season. Do not let their words penetrate the fortress of your identity. Remember who you are, what you brought to the relationship, and the strength it took for you to walk away. You are not defined by the lies of someone who was never capable of truly seeing you. Your value is not dependent on their approval or validation. Moreover, understand that this devaluation phase often happens publicly. They may speak badly of you to mutual friends, family members, or colleagues. They may use social media as a platform to spread their distorted version of events. This is part of the narcissist playbook, to isolate you and make it harder for you to rebuild your life. It's a tactic aimed at breaking your support system and making you doubt your own experiences. But this is exactly why you must surround yourself with people who know your heart and have witnessed your journey. You must cultivate a support network that believes in your truth and stands with you through the storm. When the lies fly, your community will be your shield. Their love and affirmation will remind you of your real worth. At the same time, be cautious about engaging with the narcissist during this time. Responding to their attacks often only fuels the fire. They thrive on reaction and chaos because it gives them a sense of control. Silence and steadfastness can disarm their efforts. When you refuse to play into their game, they lose power. It's also vital to work on your own healing and self-empowerment. Devaluation can leave deep wounds, self-doubt, confusion, and sometimes guilt. These feelings are natural when someone you cared for tries to rewrite your story. but your healing comes from reclaiming your narrative. This means investing in your growth, seeking truth, and nurturing your self-worth. Reflect on your journey and remind yourself that your value was never determined by how a narcissist treated you. It was always within you. Your worth is inherent, rooted in your identity as a unique and irreplaceable individual. No one's opinion can strip that away unless you allow it. The process of overcoming this devaluation stage is also a process of empowerment. When you see through their tactics, when you refuse to accept their lies, you take back your power. You stop being a victim of their narrative and become the author of your own story. Finally, know this: the devaluation stage is a sign that the narcissist has lost control. Their attacks are desperate because their grip is slipping. You are no longer a part of their game, and that frightens them. So hold firm, stand tall. You are walking out of the shadow of manipulation into the light of your own freedom. The journey after leaving a narcissist is not easy, but it is transformational. The lies, the accusations, the attempts to destroy your image, they are temporary storms, and like every storm, they will pass. What remains is your truth, your strength, and your resilience. You must never let the attempt to devalue you become a chain that holds you back. Instead, let it become the very fuel that drives you forward into healing, into growth, into a life defined not by the opinion of a narcissist, but by the power of your own restored identity. You were never the problem. The problem was their inability to love, to respect, and to see you as a person worthy of genuine connection. So stand firm in your value. Your worth is eternal, and no one can take that from you, not even a narcissist. Many people who have walked away from a narcissist carry with them a heavy weight, not of their own making, but imposed upon them by the chaos left behind. It is as though when the narcissist begins to unravel, the world expects you to catch the pieces and hold them together. But here lies a profound truth you must embrace. The psychological collapse and emotional turmoil that a narcissist experiences after losing you is not your burden to carry. It is not your responsibility to fix their brokenness or to soothe their wounded ego. Your healing begins the moment you accept this truth. You see, when a narcissist loses you, they enter into a disorienting and painful process. Their carefully constructed world, one built on control, manipulation, and false admiration, starts to collapse. Their identity, which was never rooted in genuine self-awareness, but rather in reflecting the approval and attention they extracted from you, begins to dissolve. This internal breakdown can look like a storm, a tempest of anger, denial, desperation, and ultimately despair. But remember, this is their journey, not yours. It's easy to fall into the trap of feeling responsible for their pain, because in many cases they have conditioned you to believe you are the cause of their suffering. They may have repeatedly told you that leaving them was selfish, cruel, or destructive. They may have tried to guilt you with promises, tears, or even threats, convincing you that your departure will ruin their life. This is manipulation. It is not your truth. Your truth is that you deserve peace, respect, and love, qualities they never truly gave you in return. When you start to see their breakdown as something beyond your control or influence, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of trying to manage their emotions. You no longer feel compelled to answer every call, respond to every message, or explain every decision. This clarity is the beginning of your liberation. It is the foundation on which your healing will be built. Healing after leaving a narcissist is not a linear path. It is not about forgetting or erasing the past. Rather, it is about reclaiming your power and your sense of self. When you stop carrying the weight of their emotional collapse, you create space within yourself to grow, to learn, and to rediscover who you are outside of their shadow. This realization also allows you to protect your boundaries. Healthy boundaries are essential in preventing you from being drawn back into their toxic web. When you understand that their pain is theirs alone to process, you resist the urge to rescue them. You become strong enough to say, I am not your savior. I am not responsible for your happiness or your healing. This is not cruelty. It is self-respect. Moreover, recognizing that their breakdown is not your burden teaches you a valuable lesson about love and empathy. True love does not demand that you sacrifice your well-being for another's emotional survival. True empathy respects the other person's pain but does not drown in it. You can care about their struggles without letting those struggles define your life. Your focus shifts from them to you. You begin to nurture your own heart, your own mind, and your own spirit. You prioritize your mental health, your dreams, and your peace. You surround yourself with people who affirm your worth and encourage your growth. Healing becomes a sacred act of reclaiming your identity. It is also important to recognize that healing requires time and patience. You may feel moments of guilt or doubt, especially when the narcissist's behavior triggers old fears or insecurities. These feelings are natural, but do not define your reality. Each time you remind yourself that their breakdown is their process, not yours, you reinforce your emotional boundaries and your right to peace. In this journey, forgiveness can play a role. Not forgiveness of the narcissist's actions, but forgiveness of yourself for the time spent under their influence or for the pain endured. Forgiving yourself is liberating. It tells your heart that it is okay to heal, to move forward, and to embrace a future that is free from the chains of manipulation. Ultimately, the moment you stop seeing yourself as the keeper of their emotional survival, you begin to rise. You rise above the narrative that once trapped you. You rise into your purpose, your strength, and your peace. You reclaim your life. Remember this: their breakdown is a reflection of their own choices, wounds, and limitations. It is not a reflection of your worth or your value. You are not broken because they are. You are whole because you chose to leave the unhealthy behind and step toward freedom. Your healing is a powerful testimony that no one can dim your light without your permission. When you release yourself from carrying the weight of their pain, you step into a higher level of freedom, one where you are no longer a hostage to the chaos they create. You become the master of your own peace. So stand tall, heal fiercely, and know this: you are not responsible for fixing what they refuse to see. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your growth, your joy, and your future. Let their breakdown be their journey. Let your healing be your triumph. When you walk away from a narcissist, what you might not immediately realize is that your absence becomes far more than just an empty space in their life. It becomes a powerful, unyielding mirror, reflecting the raw, unfiltered truth they have spent a lifetime avoiding. You see, narcissists live in a carefully constructed world of illusion, a world where they can deny their faults, ignore their shortcomings, and manipulate others into feeding their ego. Their reality is dependent on a constant supply of admiration, control, and validation from outside sources. But when you leave, you withdraw that supply, and suddenly they are forced to look inward, whether they want to or not. This is a pivotal moment. For the first time, they can no longer hide behind the personas they created or the narratives they spun. Your departure forces them into confrontation, not with you, but with themselves. And the truth is, this is one of the most terrifying experiences they will ever endure. Imagine living your entire life in front of a crowd, performing, pretending, convincing everyone of your greatness, while inside there is a deep void of insecurity and fear. You wear masks, arrogance, superiority, charm, because the real face beneath is vulnerable, broken, and afraid. Narcissists rely on others to maintain these masks. They need an audience to validate their identity, but when you are gone, the stage is empty. There is no applause. There is no spotlight. There is only silence. In that silence, the narcissist is left with a reflection of who they truly are. And what do they see? They see the very pain they tried so desperately to bury beneath layers of pride and control. They see the loneliness that all their manipulation and grandiosity could never mask. They see the parts of themselves they denied, the fears, the insecurities, the deep wounds that were never healed. They are confronted with the reality that their whole existence was built around a fragile ego, a fragile self that crumbles without external props. This reflection is painful because narcissists have never been trained or willing to look at themselves honestly. They have always pushed away anything that threatened their self-image. They have silenced the voice of vulnerability inside, suppressing any hint of weakness or imperfection. But your absence leaves no room for denial. It pulls away the veil. In this way, your leaving is an act of truth. It holds up a mirror to the narcissist's soul. The irony is that while they may lash out, deny, or try to reclaim what was lost, deep down they are terrified of what this reflection reveals. The true battle is not against you. It is the battle they wage against their own image in the mirror. This moment of forced self-reflection can go two ways. For some, it becomes the beginning of a painful but genuine journey towards self-awareness and healing. When the facade falls and the illusions are stripped away, they might finally glimpse the emptiness they have been running from all their lives. If they are willing, if they have the courage to face the truth and seek change, this can be a breakthrough. But such transformations are rare because they require humility, accountability, and a willingness to surrender the ego's control. For most narcissists, however, this confrontation is unbearable. So instead of facing themselves, they double down on denial, rage, or devaluation. They attempt to break the mirror, to destroy the reflection that unsettles them. This is why you might witness manipulation, smear campaigns, or desperate attempts to regain control after you leave. These are not signs of love, they are signs of fear. Fear of the truth you expose by walking away. For you, the one who chose freedom over the chains of manipulation, this stage is powerful and profound. Your absence is not a weakness or a loss. It is a gift, not only to yourself, but also paradoxically to the narcissist, because you have given them an opportunity, forced them into a moment of truth they have avoided for so long. You have given them a chance to see themselves clearly, even if they reject it. Remember this, growth begins with awareness. The narcissist's journey toward healing can only start when they stop running from their reflection. And your courage to walk away has created the conditions for that awakening. You are not responsible for their healing, nor are you obligated to stay and help them face their mirror. Your role is simply to be brave enough to remove yourself from the toxic dynamic, to prioritize your own well-being and truth. You have done the hardest thing, choosing yourself. When you leave, the narcissist is left alone with the reflection they can no longer escape. The masks come off, the stories unravel, and the truth stands naked. And that, my friend, is where real change either begins or is forever avoided. So do not fear your absence. Do not doubt the power of stepping away. It is not a void, it is a revelation. It is not just the end of a relationship. It is a breaking of chains. It is not just your freedom. It is the moment the narcissist must finally face who they really are. And that, in the grand scheme of things, is a victory for both of you. When you look at the unraveling of a narcissist after you have chosen to leave, it's easy to get caught up in their behavior, their breakdowns, their attempts to manipulate or regain control. But there is a deeper, more profound truth hidden beneath their unraveling, a truth that many fail to see or refuse to accept. That truth is this: every stage they experience in the aftermath of losing you is not a sign of your weakness. Rather, it is a powerful testament to your strength. You see, narcissists build their identity on the foundation of control, on the illusion that they are the center of every relationship, every interaction, every moment. Their sense of self depends heavily on their ability to bend others to their will and maintain a constant supply of admiration, attention, and power. They have mastered the art of masking vulnerability, because admitting weakness means losing control, and losing control is their greatest fear. Their world is a carefully constructed fortress designed to keep them appearing invincible and dominant. But when you walk away, when you decide to reclaim your dignity and freedom, that fortress begins to crack. Their carefully maintained illusion is shattered. And in those cracks, we see not strength, but fear, not power, but fragility, not control, but chaos. It is in these moments of their unraveling that you must remind yourself, their crisis is not your defeat, it is your victory. The reality is, many people stay trapped in relationships with narcissists because they mistake the narcissist's intensity and control for strength. They confuse the narcissist's neediness and dependence for emotional power. They interpret manipulation as love, coercion as concern, and control as care. But true strength is not found in domination or in forcing others to obey. True strength is found in the courage to stand up, to say no more, and to walk away even when it seems difficult, even when it seems impossible. Every stage the narcissist goes through after losing you, the shock, the denial, the rage, the desperation, the devaluation, and the replacement, is a reflection of their inability to cope with the loss of control. It's a psychological and emotional crisis that exposes their true weakness. They do not fall apart because you were weak. They fall apart because you were strong enough to break free from their grip. It is crucial to understand that their breakdown is not about you. It is about them facing the consequences of their own actions and their own flawed character. Their ego is bruised, not their heart. They are grieving the loss of their supply, not the loss of your genuine self. This is why they may try to manipulate, rage, or devalue you. They are desperately trying to restore their damaged self-image, not to reconcile with the reality of the relationship. When you leave a narcissist, you set a boundary that says you will no longer tolerate abuse, manipulation, or disrespect. That boundary is a powerful declaration of self-worth. It is a refusal to be defined or controlled by someone else's toxic narrative. This act of self-respect is one of the greatest displays of strength a person can show. It is a statement that your peace, your mental health, and your dignity are more important than any relationship built on lies or control. Many survivors of narcissistic relationships struggle with guilt, shame, and self-doubt. They question whether they could have done more, whether they were too harsh, whether they were truly at fault for the relationship's failure. But the truth is, the narcissist's response after you leave is the clearest indicator that you were not the problem. Their unraveling proves that the dysfunction was theirs, not yours. Moreover, the process the narcissist goes through after losing you can serve as a mirror reflecting what you escaped. It shows the emotional and psychological damage they carry and the toxicity they projected onto you. Their reaction reveals the power you held over them, not because you controlled them, but because you refused to be controlled. The power to say enough and to leave is the most profound power anyone can possess. It speaks to the inner strength you cultivated despite the hardships you faced. Understanding this truth helps survivors heal and reclaim their identity. It shifts the perspective from victimhood to empowerment. It allows you to see your journey not as one of failure or weakness, but of resilience and growth. You didn't just survive a difficult relationship. You triumphed over it. Your decision to walk away was an act of bravery, wisdom, and self-love. This realization should inspire you to embrace your freedom fully. It should encourage you to invest in your healing, nurture your self-worth, and build a life that reflects your true value. Because every time the narcissist lashes out, every time they try to pull you back or tear you down, you can remind yourself that you are not the weak one. You are the one who dared to choose yourself. You are the one who refused to be less than you deserve. Their breakdowns, their manipulations, and their denials are not signs of your failure. They are signs of their loss. Their inability to let go is a testament to your strength. And as you continue on your path of healing, remember this. Your strength is not measured by how they react to losing you, but by how you react to losing them. In the end, every stage the narcissist goes through after losing you is proof that you were never the weak one. You were the strong one, the one who chose freedom over fear, truth over lies, self-love over manipulation. And that strength will continue to guide you into a future filled with peace, respect, and genuine love.